All right, fellas. So, as I was a little bit excited for, I guess last night, earlier this morning. I don't know. It depends on how you want to see it. For me, it was 12 a.m. It was about 9 hours ago. We're gonna get Legends Arceus Sync pairs in Pokemon Masters. They didn't reveal much. They just said Legends Arceus Sync pairs are coming. And you go through the trailer here, it shows clips of the game. It has Legends Arceus music in the background, like ominous music and the flute sounds. You got Lucas and Dawn there being surprised. You've just got all the Mountain Cornet stuff, and more details coming May 28th. Now, when they say May 28th for a lot of things, it generally refers to PST time, Pacific time zone, whether it be daylight savings or standard. Which means that for the 28th that they're talking about, it's generally for me, personally for me, well, not for me, for Pacific time, it's around 10, 11 p.m., which would make it, for me personally, 2 a.m. on the 29th. So, yeah, it's currently May 27th, of course, whatever. If they're revealing stuff on the same, if they're revealing stuff at, JP time or Japan time, then it may actually drop tomorrow on the 28th of May, right? But I feel what's very likely is that they're going to be dropping the dev letter and the data mine on Monday, May 29th, just because whenever they say a certain date, it's generally 10 p.m. at that date for Pacific time, which for most of the world, it would be the day afterwards. Meaning, for most of the world, I think it'll be the 29th when we'll get the data mine and dev letter. But I digress. That's not really what this is about. This is me wanting to discuss what sync pairs we could possibly see come into the game, right? And this is going to be fun. So, of course, where is the line between history and legend? It's this event's going to be crazy for sure. There's a lot of things they can do, and I definitely want to go over that. But first character we'll kind of transition into here. Well, before we do that, Pokemon Legends Arceus, if you've never played it, it's basically ancient Sinnoh. That's where the game takes place in. It's called the Hisuian region. At that point, you've probably played the game, but if you haven't, then basically all of the characters in Hisui are distant relatives of characters you see in mostly Sinnoh games, but there's some ancestors that are from different regions and whatnot. Like, for example, one of them is the ancestor of Clay. Why am I not remembering his name as I'm thinking of it right now? I feel like it has an H in it. I don't know, I could look up the Wardens. Yeah, we got the Wardens here. Yeah, Leon. Okay, I was wrong. Yeah, Leon, he's the ancestor of Clay, as you can obviously tell. If you look at him, he's got the same hat and same type of hair as Clay does. He's an ancestor of Clay, right? And then you look through a lot of these other characters, you can see Mai is the ancestor of Marley. You can see Arizu is the ancestor of Mars. Caliba, I know there's... I know she... is it Hapu? It might be Hapu. I actually don't remember who Caliba is the ancestor of. Iskin, I don't remember. He may be Marlin? I don't remember. Polina, I also don't remember. Melee, it was on the tip of my tongue. Oh well, Ingo, he's in the game, by the way. Yeah, I want to actually put him in a little bit of speculation as well. But anyway, yeah, Legends Arceus, basically a bunch of characters that are ancestors of characters we currently know. And let's transition to our first characters here. So as you can see here, oops, I did not want to close. Damn it. Oh well, it's fine. As you can see here, Lucas and Dawn are looking pretty surprised. Lucas is Lucas is on something. That's funny. But yeah. That will transition us to our first character. That's our first character. Rei and Akari, which are the ancestors or potentially just straight up Dawn and Lucas. Because the way Legends Arceus works is that the main character is sent back in time from the modern day, and that's kind of how the whole of the events transpire. One of the characters is you, as you went back into the past, and the other character is your rival, which will be the other gender, So if you chose Rei as your main character, then Akari will be your rival, and vice versa. Which means that they could be... I don't know how Masters will take it, but there's definitely the chance that they use these as just another iteration of Dawn and Lucas, but I think it'll be very, very likely that they just use them as completely different characters that may just be the ancestors of Dawn and Lucas or whatever, right? I don't really want to go too in depth on how how time travel works, but hey, whatever. So, Rei and Akari, definitely they're like the protagonists of the games. Obviously we're going to get the protagonists first, especially because we see Dawn and Lucas looking so surprised, which would only, which may be augmented by the fact that, they're seeing themselves, or people that look just like them, right, which would be Rei and Akari, because that's Ingo. Rei and Akari, right? So, when it comes to the sync pair, who do I think that they'll get? There's two, well, not really two options, there's a lot of options, but I feel like there's only a few that are actually really, really possible. So, obviously, there's the starters of the game, which I actually want to find, but that'll take whatever. I'll just use. I'll keep using this as my method to find the starters. So, the starters of the game are Oshawott, Samurott, Rowlet, and Cyndaquil, and they eventually evolve into their Hisuian forms: Hisuian Decidueye, Hisuian Typhlosion, and Hisuian Samurott. I feel obviously with 90% of the main characters in the game, they have starters, right? Only exception, well, for their first sync pair. Obviously, Galar, they don't start with their their starters as their, original sync pairs, Well, Victor did, he got Rillaboom, but Gloria, she had Zacian, right? But she eventually got Inteleon later, and I guess Thwackey, though we're still missing Cinderace. But still, they still have their starters, right? So, starters, very possible in terms of possible sync pair creation, right? Makes a lot of sense, too, because the Hisuian, they're going for full Hisuian celebration, so the Hisuian sync pairs, introducing them with the Hisuian starters would make a lot of sense, right? Giving, in my opinion, this is just me, but I don't really like Hisuian Decidueye all that much compared to regular Decidueye, so I would want, like, Akari or Rei to get Hisuian Typhlosion and Hisuian Samurott respectively. Doesn't really make, I don't care who gets which, but I would want those two to be the starters. So I do feel like the starters are also like a very likely possibility, but I also feel that there's also a likelihood at them, having other Hisuian Pokemon as, their sync pairs, right? They could probably get another one, but I won't go into that until a little bit later. So I feel like with all of these Hisuian sync pairs here, or Hisuian Pokemon here, we could definitely see Rei and Akari get one at random other than the starters, which, maybe like Arcanine, Electrode, Sneasler or Overquill, since they're like regional evolutions. Basculegion's definitely possible. Zoroark, Braviary, Goodra, Avalugg, all of them, right? They're definitely a possibility too, but I do think I'm leaning more towards them getting the Hisuian starters instead of a random Hisuian Pokemon or Hisuian evolution. Alright, so that's Rei and Akari. They're definitely coming, right? I would almost guarantee these two are coming at the very least. With what Pokemon, not sure, but I would definitely say that the Hisuian starters are the most likely candidate. And let's move on to, I think, our next two characters, Adaman and Irida. Adaman and Irida, they're the leaders of the Diamond and Pearl clans. They both worship Almighty Sinnoh, as they call it, but it's later revealed in the game if you've never played. But if you've never played the game, spoilers, I would recommend go playing the game. It's very, very amazing. But anyway, if you've never played the game, it's later revealed that the gods that they worship are instead Dialga and Palkia. Whatever. So these two are definitely very, very likely characters to come into the game. They're both very popular along with the main characters. They're definitely in the top 5, I would say. Rei and Akari are also up there, of course. Adaman and Irida, definitely very, very popular characters. Definitely a lot of people want them to come in. I would definitely say that they're very possible to come in with this first batch of Hisuian characters. I say first batch because I do feel like we'll get more Hisuian characters later down the road, especially if this event does well, which I really do think it will, even after coming off of the Alolan arc, which, honestly, a lot of people probably found it hype, for sure, but it's one region, and people may not like that specific region, so I feel like something like Hisui, even though it is also just one region, it's also appealing to both people who played Legends Arceus and people who played Sinnoh games, especially with, having ancestors and whatnot. I don't think we actually know who Adaman's ancestor is, or Irida's. It might actually be like a character in Paldea, but I digress. Anyway, yeah, it doesn't really say anything we know, but yeah, Adaman and Irida, they're very, very popular characters. Their main Pokemon that they have with them are Leafeon for Adaman and Glaceon for Irida, which, we already have a Leafeon sync pair, but I definitely do think that if they want to make Adaman and Irida characters and not give them the glaringly obvious sync pair character that I'll mention in a bit, then I do think they could definitely give them, Leafeon and Glaceon instead, because we don't have a Glaceon sync pair. It would be nice to have one, and even though we do already have a Leafeon sync pair with Signature Erica, I do think that Adaman could still make his own unique Leafeon sync pair and would still pull a lot of cash in for the game, for sure, because he's still, as like on his own, a very, very popular character. Now, the other Pokemon I do think they could have is, as I said, they are the leaders of the Diamond and Pearl clan. I think they could get Dialga and Palkia. Do I think it's likely at this point in time? No, I don't. I honestly do not think it's very possible at that point, or at this current point with us getting the characters. I think with our introductions to the characters, I don't think they'll be giving us Dialga and Palkia that early in their origin form specifically. Because if you don't know, then of course they've got origin Dialga and Palkia. I guess I would have to pull up the image. Man, I really don't want to just find the image of Origin, Dialga, and Palkia. But anyway, yeah, so I do think they could get Dialga and Palkia just because, they're the leaders of the Diamond and Pearl clan. But I do think it's also still more likely that they get Leafeon and Glaceon instead. Why can I not fucking search up Dialga or Palkia? Temple of Sinnoh, fine, that'll work. Yeah, Dialga and Palkia origin form. Sure, that'll work. I did want to open up Dialga. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. Origin form. So, yeah, they could definitely get these guys, which obviously would make them differentiate from Lucas and Cyrus, because they've obviously got Dialga and Palkia. But if they give them these forms, which is basically the same thing as Origin Giratina, you don't have to, do something mid-battle to do it, which maybe they would actually add that in the game, but who knows. If they just had these, that'd be very, very nice, very, very possible. But in my opinion, I don't think they'll give where the hell did they go? There he is. I don't think they'll give Adaman and Irida these Pokemon so soon, but there's also the possibility they may give them, Hisuian forms of Pokemon as well, or other evolutions that we have not gotten in the game yet, okay, well, we've already gotten all of these evolutions. Actually, have we gotten every evolution besides Glaceon? No, I don't think we got Espeon, right? Yeah, we don't have Espeon, but Irida has literally both Glaceon and Espeon, so it doesn't really make sense, but still. I think Adaman coming with Leafeon and Irida coming with Glaceon makes the most sense, but you could probably also give them a Hisuian Pokemon, like I said, for Rei and Akari, Hisuian Zoroark, or the Hisuian evolutions like Avalugg, Sneasler, Overquill, Basculegion, those type of things, right? So, don't really know for sure what they'll be getting, but I think that the evolutions for them are the most possible. And we've got Professor Lavington. Will he become a sync pair? Honestly, it's possible that he becomes a sync pair because we do have, 2 professors in the game that are sync pairs. Is it? No, 3. I guess Sonia could be counted as a professor, so 4? I don't know. We got Sonia, Kukui, Oak, and Sycamore, right? So I do think Lavington's got his own shot at becoming a sync pair in the game. But he actually does not have many Pokemon on him, so if we do get him, I think that... Again, if we do get him, he may be the character that gives us the 3rd Hisuian starter. Like, if Rei and Akari get Oshawott and Cyndaquil, then maybe Lavington will get Rowlet, right? It's definitely possible. I'm not going to put too much detail in it, but Lavington definitely could bring him into the game as a playable sync pair. Maybe they could even make him, like, the free, a free sync pair, right? They wouldn't be wasting too much money or effort or whatever on him, and they'd be giving us a nice free sync pair, which would make this the month overall better, and just the overall Hisuian quote unquote celebration make it a little bit better, right? But that's that's just speculation, right? I don't know if they'll give us a free sync pair or if they even give us a free legendary arena character because it's Hisui, it's not Sinnoh, it's Hisui. They'll please give us a legendary arena for it, but I digress. Doesn't make much of a difference anyway. Especially when there's only, one non-Sinnoh legendary that they could do. But anyway, after Lavington, we have Cylene here. She is the leader, leader of the Galaxy Team Survey Corps. She's the ancestor of Cyrus. Her main Pokemon in the game is an Abra. That's about it. But I think they might be able to bring her in as a sync pair. Maybe for, spotlights, because honestly, I feel like as much as I hate to say it, if they brought in Akari and Rei, that's the regional variants, Akari and Rei, I do feel they'll make them Poke Fairs, at least, maybe even Master Fairs, depending on if they give them, you know, Origin, Dialga, and Palkia, because I did want to mention that earlier, but I do feel the protagonists are also very, very likely candidates to get the Origin, Dialga, and Palkia forms, but I digress. If they do make them Master Fairs, that's possible, but I do think they'll probably make them Poke Fairs with their Hisuian starters, or just Hisuian Pokemon in general, which would kind of suck, but they did it with Gen 8, you know, Gloria and Victor. I feel like they won't hesitate to do it here again, especially with these characters being popular and, you know, kind of just being quote-unquote reskins of Dawn and Lucas. And I feel like if they add Adaman and Irida, they're 100% Poke Fairs, in my opinion. There's no reason to make these characters, like, as popular as they are into Spotlights. At least with Rei and Akari, you can argue they're main characters, so the main character should be in the spotlight. But no, Adaman and Irida, 100% at least Poke Fair characters. And Lavington and Cylene, I do feel it could be spotlight characters if we don't get Rei and Akari as spotlight characters. You know, I feel Hisuian probably needs these free options. You know, they did Galar gym leaders in the friggin' general pool, so give us these characters in the general pool at least. They're not super, they're hype, but they're not like super hype, and you don't really have many sync pairs you can make out of them without making too much stuff up. So I mean, just make them spotlights, man. It's not too hard. Even if you just give her Abra and put her in the spotlight, who cares? That's fine. I'm not mad about that. And we got Commodore here. He is the boss of the Galaxy team. He is the ancestor of Professor Rowan, and he's honestly one of the cooler characters in the game. A little bit of backstory is basically whenever he was like a kid or back when he lived in a village or whatever, he had a bunch of Pokemon terrorize the village, destroyed it, whatever, and he pretty much had a little bit of resentment for Pokemon since then, calling them like dangerous creatures and whatnot. And he's wielded strong Pokemon in order to try and stop the entire threat of happening to Hisui, which is when Mount Coronet had the thing above it or whatever, giant rift in space-time. He was like, there's probably something dangerous up there, I want to go kill it so people aren't gonna perish for it or whatever else, right? Anyway, Commodore, definitely a very, very likely character to come into the game, in my opinion. He's got, as you can see in his, actually, how far into his team is this? Okay, Ursaluna, it's his 4th Pokemon, his 4th edition, I guess, even though this is his 3rd Pokemon here. Ursaluna is the only new Pokemon added on his team. I actually completely forgot about Ursaluna, but yeah, Ursaluna is the only new, like, Hisuian Pokemon that he uses. Obviously, we don't have a sync pair of normal Golem. We don't have a sync pair of Heracross either. So these are also possible, but I think that, you know, they would want to capitalize on Ursaluna being a Hisuian Pokemon. If they bring Commodore in, I do feel it's very, very likely they bring him in with, like, Ursaluna as his main Pokemon. And I do feel he could probably go either way in terms of being a Spotlight or a Pokefair character. He's popular enough, but he's definitely not popular to Adaman or Irida's level, but I do think he's definitely got possibility to become a Pokefair because of general greed, or just because they don't want to put too many characters in the, you know, Spotlight, right? But also, again, consider, not all of these characters are going to be coming into the game. There's going to be, for sure, only a couple, maybe 5, maybe 4 or 5, right? Maybe even 3. We'll see a lot of them as NPCs, of course, but I feel in terms of playable characters, Rei and Akari are going to take up 2 spots, and then you only have 1 to 3 spots left for characters. And speaking of the last character, Volo. This man is insane. Alright, this guy's definitely the character that most people wanted to see come into the game. 100%, right? You could say potentially Rei and Akari beat him out, but I would honestly say Volo is definitely the character that people want to see in this game the most. There's a lot of character backstory that I'm about to go into. I literally opened up all these tabs just so I wouldn't spoil it. I'll be honest. I gotta close these mugs now. My God, that's a lot of tabs. Okay, please, just go faster. Damn. Alright, I'm waiting. Thank you. Okay. So yeah, Volo. Obviously, as you can tell just by looks and the fact you can read, he is the ancestor of Cynthia. You know, probably one of, if not the most popular, besides maybe like Red or Ash or whatever, but probably one of the most well-known and popular characters in the game, Cynthia, right? And he is her ancestor. And in the game, he definitely lives up to the title of being Cynthia's ancestor, because this man whooped everybody's ass the first time. Well, I guess the second time you battled. No, third time. Yeah. If, again, yeah, I've already given you many spoiler warnings throughout this, so I don't care at this point. This guy's got a full team of 6 here. He's got Cynthia's entire team, except he's replacing her Melodic with Arcanine, Hisui and Arcanine specifically, which I do think is possible for him to come with as a sync pair, or, as we've already had a ton of, one of the Togepi line, right? I definitely think he could come with, Togepi or Togekiss. Definitely possible, but I feel if they really want to capitalize on this and capitalize on the story, the first time he comes around, he was probably going to have Giratina Origin. All of it lines up, in my opinion. I did have the tweet pulled up from Absol, but I'll have to find it now again, which is not hard to find. It's like literally down here. There was a little bit of stuff leaked here. Well, not really leaked, but it says there's going to be a Master Festival, Amazing Night. It's a translation of Japanese text, right? Which is basically alluding to a Master Fair dropping around May 31st, which makes sense for this Hisuian timeline to release. So if they're releasing a Master Fair, Volo is easily the best candidate. Assuming they bring him into the game, at this point, he's easily the best candidate for a Master Fair sync pair. Having Giratina Origin will pair him up with Renegade Cynthia, who is rerunning right now. Rerunning, Volo and his ancestor, his descendant, as a sync pair. Or as 2 different sync pairs on the same team. You got Giratina Altered here with Cynthia, and you got Giratina Origin with Volo. It's a very hyped team that people would want to have, together. It would bring new players into the game. They'd be like, oh my gosh, yeah, we got Cynthia and Volo. We got the 2 Giratinas I want to summon for. I'll spend money right now. It's clear cut, right? It's not that hard to realize. There's definitely stuff alluding to Volo being a Master Fair, and there's definitely a lot alluding to him bringing in Giratina Origin for sure. Not going to say it's guaranteed, but it's definitely, a lot of things are pointing to it. And I do think it's definitely very, very possible that he comes in with Giratina Origin as a Master Fair. And if he comes in as a Master Fair, bro, I'm going to cry because I spent all my shit on Acerola. I am broke. I am poor. I am very upset. Oh boy. Yeah, that's not very fun. I'm going to have to spend money. I've mentioned it before, like for the 3.5 anniversary speculation video, and for, which if you saw the video I last posted, then you saw I just literally reused the same thumbnail. But Legends Arceus is definitely my favorite game in like the entire series, because I loved Sinnoh before. Diamond and Pearl were my favorite games before Legends Arceus released, and afterwards having all this backstory in the history of Sinnoh and Hisui, as it was called back then, and all these amazing characters and amazing story, which eventually led down to the events of, I guess, Sinnoh, the Sinnoh games, made me love Legends Arceus a lot. And I'm going to be summoning for every Hisuian sync pair in the game, whether it be by just straight up summoning for them, doing multis and whatnot, or I may just straight up, do dailies and hope that I get them, and if I don't get them by that point, then I'll just, put in a couple multis. Gonna go for at least each character at 1 out of 5. If I don't get them, oh fucking well, I guess. Okay. But yeah, this is the one region I will wail out for in the game. I definitely really, really love Legends Arceus. I love the characters. I definitely would not regret it, honestly. Volo, do think he's coming. Hope he's coming. I know we got Rei and Akari coming for sure, but there's about 1 to 3 characters they could bring afterwards. If they're going to go all out and just put in everything at once, well, not everything, but put in all their big money makers at once, they would bring in Rei, Akari, Adaman and Irida, and Volo for sure. Those would be the characters they definitely bring in as their big money makers. But if they want to, hold off and maybe release Adaman and Irida later, I definitely could see that happening as well. And maybe they drop one free character, free, spotlight character or something like that instead. Because, oh boy, if we don't get a spotlight for Hisui, honestly, I'm going to be a little bit upset myself. Because, come on, you got to give us some spotlights at one point. Our last spotlight, I think, was Shauna back in January, dude. So it's not great, but whatever. Hisui, confirmed to come into the game. We got a lot of different speculation. The dev letter should be here around tomorrow or Monday. Just kind of depends on how they do it. And it's going to be good, right? It's going to be really, really good. It's going to be really, really fun. We got some hype stuff coming into the game. This is definitely the most hype I've been for the game ever since just straight up the 2nd anniversary. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. So, yeah. I don't have much else to say. Hopefully we get Volo in the game. I'll see you all later. Let me know who you think we should get in the game and what sync pairs we should get in the game. And I'll see you all later.